good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, because that's Chris's little catch cry that he does. Tonight we're doing something a little bit different. The boys have said to me to go out there and do my thing, and obviously I've been talking quite a bit to the gentleman to my right or your left, however it is on this current situation. We have Rudy, I assume that's how you like to be called?
Yeah.
Rudy from Pinball Brothers. And this one's, I really want to do this because Alien and Pinball Brothers was something for me that was quite captivating a year ago when I saw the machine for the first time. But I'll let you introduce yourself. Welcome, and thank you for your time, because I know obviously it's 1 o'clock where you are. You're in not Sweden. Where are you at the moment?
I'm in Hamburg, in Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm Rüdiger Beckmann. I do marketing and communication for Pinball Brothers.
Great. And obviously Pinball Brothers, everyone knows, famous for Alien and Queen at the moment. For me, I saw Alien a year ago at the WA Pinball Festival, which is in Perth in Western Australia. And I had never really, I was quite new. Well, I've been playing pinball for a long time, but I was quite new to the collecting scene of pinball and the obsession that it becomes. And I remember seeing this machine from across the room, and it was a bit like when you make eye contact with that girl or guy that you've kind of fallen for, and it drew me. The colors drew me, the sound drew me, and it had a crowd, right? And it was unique. It was unique. So for me, it was an experience, and we build pinball machines for the experience, obviously, and what an experience it was. So I really wanted to get you on because there isn't much content out there about Pinball Brothers in general. Like I know everyone's done unboxings of Alien and Queen, but I wanted to know a little bit more first about the history behind Pinball Brothers. How long have you been there actually?
I myself came on to 21 for the pandemic crisis situation, really.
to help them social, because you do all the social media, obviously.
That's right, yeah. And we launched the LV at that time. I guess that's the machine that you've played. And so this year we went on to do the Ripley version.
Yes, which we'll get onto. So Pinball Brothers, tell me a bit about Pinball Brothers. Obviously, everyone knows it's a Swedish company. The machines are made in Italy, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, look, I know we've been talking a little bit via text, so just run me through it.
Yeah, sure. We started out in UK, and about 16 or 17, the Brexit situation arose, and so we decided we would rather sort of position ourselves as a European company, and so we moved headquarters to Sweden, and the tech department and the concept design and all of that is in Sweden as well. And we've from the start been working with Pedretti, who manufacture the games. They are in Bergamo, near Milan, in Italy.
Yeah. So the relationship with Pedretti, which is it's a hot topic at the moment. Everyone knows the word Pedretti because they're not saying much at the moment themselves. But so you guys have been working with Pedretti. So do they actually build the machines for you as a JV, or is it something that you just use their space?
No, we formed a company called EPC last year, which is Euro Pinball Corp, and this is sort of the mantle for our joint operations. They moved to a big facility so they could do more track lines of different models, and so this is where they're also doing They've done some 2.0 kits, and now the latest development is that they're doing some remakes.
Yes, yeah. And so obviously that's the connection. Pedretti at the moment is a hot topic. For those that don't know, there was a lot of little things that have been planted on the internet about the fact that CGC were making some remakes and they built a beautiful machine, and Pedretti obviously now have taking on with their relationship with Bally Williams and all original parts are going to be making some remakes. So I'm sure we're going to be seeing some stuff. I saw a picture posted the other day, so I'm sure we'll be seeing some old school games coming back. So obviously you guys, Alien is, for me, it's a dream theme. It was a film I grew up. My background is home cinema and cinema in general. So Alien is next to Matrix and films that Demolition Man and all those type of things. They're all dream themes. And it was a theme that I'm sure would have been very hard for you guys to get, and would have taken a long time because it is Disney. Was it Disney back then when you guys first started?
No, it was Fox back then. 20th Century Fox. But now I've been negotiating with Disney for like the last 6 months. So it is a very complicated process.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I mean, obviously, Alien, the reputation it has as a machine, it's a beautiful looking machine. It's got some great little toys on it. The ramps are fantastically, they're so shiny, just so shiny. The sound is all the machines I've got, I've upgraded the sound. I've always, thought that they could always do better. But you guys out of a box, it's like being immersed in a dedicated home cinema.
It has to be. I mean, the immersiveness. That's what all people say who step to the machine. First of all, they say, "Well, it feels different to any other theme." But then, of course, the theme gets you. I grew up with the Alien franchise, and it's still so relevant. I mean, I've been actually talking a little to diehard fans and also to some actors from the franchise, trying to get in contact because we were so much trying to make this theme work, and it's close to a miracle that it all worked out the way it did, but it's been a long way. But still, I mean, it's so relevant now. There's a new TV series, there's a new movie coming out, so there's loads of stuff that is still happening in this franchise.
And look, I think it's one of those franchises that even if things that weren't being made, it was just too good of a movie to not. I would show my kids. My kids are a bit young now, but my dad showed me. And I've shown friends. I've still got friends. I'm 40, and I still have friends that have never seen Alien. So it's one of those themes that I think would never age. And obviously, the biggest talking point was when it came out. There was no Sigourney Weaver, right? And there wasn't the famous catchphrase that everyone wanted to hear. So the fact that we know that with pinball machines, there's code that comes out. It changes all the time. But you guys now with this whole Ripley version, which obviously has new artwork and new video content and everything. The best thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the things that really blew me away about it was the fact that if you own an SE or SV, whatever they want to call them now, you can make yours a Ripley version.
Yes, that was very important to us, of course, because we have the machine has such a legacy, and it has such a there's so many really avid fans, and we didn't want to disgruntle anyone. We really tried to make all of this work, like even all the add-ons and all of the there have been people who got one of the editions and then they said, oh, I would rather have this and I would rather add that, and they can all do that. There's no limitations virtually. You can just go ahead and update, and we have it all covered to make everybody happy, because we're really, this last version is really to celebrate. It's not to put another super limited edition out there or something. We just want to get as many machines spread across the globe as possible, because the theme is just so great.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. One of the things, and not just in pinball, even in other things that I do, where you've just bought something and all of a sudden, a couple of years later, there's the new one, which is bigger and better, and yours is worth nothing, and you can't upgrade in some instances, or you can't trade in. So to be able to not be left kind of, I wish I waited, or this, I think it's great that I can buy the artwork, or I can buy the playfield stickers, or I can buy the light, all the toppers, all the the little screen, the sculpt of the alien head. They're all things that I think well, I think that's probably the benefits of having a boutique company, because it's a little bit more personal, and probably a bit more customer service based. Not saying that the bigger companies,
to do that, of course.
you have to,
That's
right?
really, really important for us.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, the other big companies, obviously, they still have customer service, but I think obviously the smaller you are, numbers are more important. People are more important. Sorry, not numbers. So, and I think that Ripley content really, I haven't seen it personally. Obviously, we're getting an Alien machine, I think, in a few days. So, I'm really excited to see that Sigourney Weaver content. And obviously that's just code, free update, and off you go, which I understand as we went through. But that's obviously changed that game experience completely.
Yeah, and you have to be aware that the history of this version is tumultuous as well. I mean, we went to Expo and we didn't have the final likeness rights on the cabinet, and that's just something that came later. And then, of course, you have people who evaluated that version that we showed at Expo, and then they said, well, we like this better. And so you're sort of always in between with licensing. You're always in a process. And me doing the marketing, I would rather have a process that is finished, so that I can actually put a product to market and say, yeah, well, look, this is it. But it feels like you're never there, not with heavy licenses like this.
No, and I think that's probably one of the things that one of my gripes is seeing a lot of these machines, and whether it's from a big company or a small boutique company, and they kind of get judged at these shows where you're relying on them not being set up properly, that they haven't, maybe something has been fixed, or and everything. I deal with $100 to $1 million home cinema projections, and even those in transit need to be fixed. But then they get assessed and they haven't been calibrated, right? And then that assessment's a little bit unfair. And I tend to find that sometimes these CES and these pinball festivals where the machines are being shown off, it is early days, and I think a bit of the pinball community tend to forget that it is a testing kind of thing, and this is what we're working on, this is what it's nearly complete. And sometimes I think some machines get unfairly probably a little bit reviewed. Totally. So I tend to agree with that. And I think sometimes you do see a lot of YouTube channels that will do a 2.0 look at a game, because things change, coding changes, and I think
or even it's just the setup of the machine. I mean, if you are at Expo for 4 days and a couple of hundred people play the machine roughly, we've had it that, of course, we can't have all the parts, so sometimes things break, and then you're sort of like, I smashed a glass even. I was happy to smash it next to the machine and not into the machine, but all of these things, they happen, and it would have been a nightmare to clean that up.
Now, so basically, getting back to a little bit of the history of Pedretti, and obviously the team behind it have to be pinball enthusiasts, right? These guys, obviously, they went from playing and collecting pinballs to wanting to build pinballs. Is there much of that you can touch on?
Well, the Swedes, I know that much. They've been in the business for 25 years. They have their own distributing network and shop, which is in Sweden. It's free play. And so when they started, and I myself came into the business because of the Hamburg connection with another guy sitting on the board. And I used to do, in the early days of the internet, I used to do logos for him whenever he had a new project or a new company. I would do the website stuff and stuff. So that's how I came in. But these the pinball people of Pinball Brothers, in Sweden, these teams, they go back a long way in pinball.
And at least they're not making machines that you have to build yourself, being Swedish.
Yeah, we get this question a lot, especially by US customers. They sort of like understand that. Okay, so if you're a European company, does that mean it's all metrics and we can't get any parts and stuff like that? It's kind of funny. You sort of think that all the documentation is going to be in Chinese or something, but of course that's not the way it works. We're all really English speaking, and the only thing that we have is that the support we have separated into two entities because of the time difference mainly. So that we have a US support that is awake when US people are awake, and we have a European support that is awake when Europeans are awake.
Yeah. And so I guess, I mean, obviously it's probably a good question for you personally, because I know you've always been more on the marketing side of things and, you know, relatively new to being heavily involved in pinball. How's that experience been for you? Because obviously I like to get as many people come over, even my wife's friends, get them to play a pinball game, because it's amazing watching them touch it for the first time. And kind of they have a smile or a smirk, right? And they say they get it. Right, they get why it's addictive, and that's like a 10-minute play. So I'm sure that surely you've obviously, you know, tell me that part of your journey, because you've obviously, you know, you're in there, right? So
I'm not untouched by pinball. I grew up on a T2, and that was we went there every day for hours to play. So I've had my fair share of pinball experience. But what I really think is interesting to me as a little bit of an outsider is that people are so invested. I mean, if you go to Expo and you have a look at 1,500 machines, and they all have their own universe. If they are good in creating this immersiveness, they really there are fans for all of these projects, licensed or unlicensed, and it's you just dive into a whole world of stuff that you didn't really think it could be that versatile or diverse. That's what I really love about it now, getting into it.
And I mean, growing up, I was a very big gamer. I used to love playing video games and getting lost in the story of video games. Not so much PlayStation 4 and 5, because I feel games have become too complicated, but more, you know, the Super Nintendo and you know, Nintendo 64, where everything was kind of a bit more simpler. And I find what people don't realize about pinball until they step to a machine is that pinball is basically a video game. There's story modes, there's chapters, you know, there's things that you need, tasks that you need to complete. Very hard. A lot of people will never get to a wizard, like, you know, the end. But, you know, like, I don't play pinball for that. I play pinball to switch off, enjoy the story, be immersed. And it's interesting really seeing so many people, and it's an extremely friendly community, and people live and breathe it, especially here. But how it's impacts everyone's life so differently, and how captivated those people are, and the stories. I mean, listening, I could shoot a video with every person I've met, and every story would be different, but they're interesting stories. You know, a lot of people, funny enough, their machine was Terminator 2 at the fish and chip shop.
Yes,
that must have been a really common. Same, like, or for me was Demolition Man. Demolition Man was at my local corner deli, and I played that machine religiously. I'm going to own one day, because that is so much nostalgia. And for me, a lot of the themes, and look, not everyone is, and Gonzo's done a video on this, but, you know, I buy machines based on theme. They have to have something that I can connect with, or something that I can gel with. I'm not huge on generic, you know, original ideas. Revenge from Mars is different, because that's a very unique machine, being a Pinball 2000. But, you know, like, I was very big in the wrestling. James Bond was a big thing for me. Star Trek was a huge thing for me. Ghostbusters, you know, Batman 66, obviously Alien. So they're themes that, you know, nostalgia is a powerful thing, and I've said it before on this channel. And I think even with Alien, like I said, there's something about that machine when you walk up to it. You could be playing pinball for 30 years or a year, and that machine feels very different, right? And it's not just the speaker system. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel that it kind of has its own. It's like it's the director and it's telling a story, and it's like it's just extremely captivating. And whether that's the coding or the theme in general, obviously I know the speaker system is going to have a lot to do with that, creating the atmosphere, but it is extremely unique. And I think with the whole the Ripley edition, and the fact that people that have owned the machine for 5-6, when did the first one come out, with Pinball Brothers?
Well, it was 2020 really to bring it to market, the SE, and then 2021 the LV, and now 23 this one.
Yeah, so people that, and I know someone that's got one of the first ones that you guys did, 2020 it must have been. The fact that he now, because he wasn't aware. I had a conversation with him yesterday. I said, "Oh, but you can buy the artwork, you can buy the translate, you can buy the." But he was, I didn't know that, right? And I think this is probably one of the downsides with small boutique companies, unless we do more content like this and talk about it. Like our distributor, there's only small distributors. Australia's a very big place. I'm 5 hours away in a plane, or 2 days in the car to the distributor that does Alien in Australia, right?
Wow.
So, and it's not, it's a business where you buy a machine, he sends it to you, and I kind of do, the unboxing and all that type of stuff. So, we're not heavily involved with the people that distribute the machines. There is, obviously newsletters go out and all that, but then you're relying on people to read emails and, stuff goes to spam. But, sorry?
Certainly, yes. This is one of the problems as well. More and more content creators are going out there, and we are creating content talking about all of these things. But then, of course, people have to listen to all of it. And once you do the communications, you're sort of like set, and you think you've talked about it all. And then, of course, there's going to be somebody who didn't get that.
And look, and I think it's one of the things that with these one-on-one chats, they're great, but most of the time they'll end up being 30 minutes to an hour, and people will drop off. And if they've dropped off or started or they've skimmed, they tend to miss important information. And this is why we try and do a kind of a recap at the beginning to let people know this is what we're talking about. So, stay tuned type of thing. So I think, it's exciting, the fact that you can buy. I mean, I'm an extremely impatient person, so I would opt to buy a SE or SV locally, and then when I'm ready, just slowly make the changes I want. Because I genuinely, and you might get this, I actually prefer the SESV cabinet because it is the artwork of the original films.
I understand. We have this frequently with the LV as well, because there are totally fans of the LV artwork with the clean translite and everything. And so other people will just buy the LV and put on a Ripley translite. And this is why we created the process so versatile, as variable as possible, so that people could really cater to what they like best.
Well, it's very unique. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know, and I may be corrected in the comments, as people normally try and do. But I'm pretty sure you guys are probably the only company that offers this, where you can kind of upgrade your machine as you want it to make it like the current one.
Yeah, well, this is just a necessity or a decision from us, because we have this history of these versions. And when we issued it first, people said, "Oh yeah, they're trying to make some more money. They're going to do a super limited and all of this stuff." And then we had to really explain to people that the Ripley version is not like comparable to the limited version. if you have a limited version, you'll always have that limitation. You'll always have this uniqueness about it. And whatever you do with the rest is really up to you. But now we have people who, of course, they said for the first, when we announced it, they said, well, all of my other machines are going to lose in value, and they have proven not to. I mean, the limited is more sought after now than it was before our Ripley release, and this is really what we aimed at. We tried to bring this to the market so that it would just generate more interest to that theme. And
well,
you
it's
said
a
earlier,
celebration.
you said earlier that
Oh,
the theme is so immersive, and it's just so legendary. That's mainly because it's the first two movies. It's Alien and Aliens, and so if it had gone any differently in the franchise, like for example, if they had killed off Ripley, for example, all of this would have been very different. But so with all of these factors in it, and the reason that you can just step up to the machine and choose which modes to play, which film to play, and then all of the clips are there and everything's there, and you're in that world. I mean, I'm a major film buff. I live and breathe film. Film themes are always going to be very special, and this franchise is just so crazy. That's why we'll always love it, and that's why we did everything to ensure that this would live a little longer.
And I think and for those of you that don't know, with Alien, yes, you can choose when you first start to either play the first film or the second film. And correct me if I'm wrong, and from memory, because I didn't play it long, because to be fair, there was like a massive queue of people that wanted to play the machine at the time. Whichever movie you choose, the modes and the rules are completely different, right?
Yeah, but they are not different from machine to machine. So if you have an SV and an LV, that's the same gameplay, and so all of that is compatible, and that's how we managed to offer the Ripley version game code to all of the machines. Otherwise, it would have been probably impossible to feature.
No. But look, I think it's a smart move. And I think, instead of, and where a lot of people, especially collectors, get their nose out of joint is when they buy an LE and then they come up with a 50th anniversary or a 40th anniversary, and then your LE is not really an LE, right? So, but if you can turn around and go, well, look, yes, we have released one, but you can buy all the bits and pieces and turn yours into that, then that would be pretty unique. But I can understand why people would get upset. But, I think it's a great move, and I think it's only now, celebrating the fact that film content's there. She's in it. She says the word bitch in it, which is what everyone wants to hear and what we all want to hear, right? And I hope I don't have to finish the game to hear that. But it is a celebration, and I think it's unique, and it's it feels different. It is built differently. I mean, Italians do everything the best. Obviously, we know that. But one thing that really spun me out on Alien was the first machine. We lifted it, and I was like, "Where are all the cables?"
Yeah,
like it's extremely clean under that playfield. And I'll probably do a video on the one that we're getting. But you lift it up, and there's like where are all the cables? It is so neat and so narrow too. Like it's very unique. That's very unique.
Yeah. Thank you. That's really it helps.
yeah, it helps to probably manage it too. So look, obviously, if we just quickly touch on the fact that like how many machines in general are you guys looking at building? I know you don't want to flood the market with Alien machines. To keep a little bit of experience. Is it like 1,000 each or something? Or
that's right. Yeah, the limited is limited to 1,000 machines. So there's only going to be 1,000 LVs, and same goes with Queen. There's only going to be 1,000 Rhapsodies, and that's it.
Yeah. So good segue. Let's talk about Queen, and one of my favorite bands. And I love the fact that there's a lot of music pinball machines out there, and it is a great game with some great shots. Obviously, the music great, That must have still been a very hard one for you guys to get the rights for, I can imagine.
Yeah, of course. But again, it's really when you have a theme that is so, this license is so, everyone has their very, very strong opinion on
Yeah.
which for example, which songs to use, and every conversation was like, yeah, well, why isn't this song in there? Why isn't that song in there? And I did a lot of explaining in the first launch
Yeah.
stadium. But right now, I think that people have sort of gotten the overall idea why the machine is like it is, like with the when we issued it the first at Expo last year. The 22, it didn't have the Bohemian Rhapsody programmed yet, and so people were sort of like, they were flipping through to have that play, and it wouldn't work, and it only came to pass like in April or so of last year, because it was another. Well, it was a mini wizard mode diverted into 6 chapters and everything. So that took a little longer to program. But now people understand that when they play the songs through, that it's always, it is very heavily into the video portion of the game as well. Like there's 2 concerts, and it all has to sort of match. And this was a criticism that we got in the front of the first launches when we presented the game, that of course people wanted to see the videos, but it would never have been quite the immersive experience if you're sort of like into every other director's decision on how to direct a video. And so with the concert clips in HD, all of this helps to bind it all together and to make it for a more fluent experience.
And it's interesting because I think, you know, doing a music machine is quite risky, because I mean, pinball's already a niche market, and then you're doing, you know, a band or a person that maybe not everyone listens to. So you narrow the market again. The funnel gets smaller and smaller, because there's a lot of people, for instance, that, you know, do not listen to AC/DC or do not listen to Elton John and never will. And they would never buy the machine because it just doesn't appeal to them. They'll play a machine if they walk into a pub and it's there, but they wouldn't buy one. And I think it's always risky doing that. I think when I heard Queen, because I grew up with Queen and like it is one of my favorites. You know, my kids sing the songs and it's a great theme. I was really hoping that we would get something that, and this is probably my only criticism of the game, because I actually really like the shots and I love the music and everything. But I'm a big fan of Foo Fighters, because Foo Fighters is, yes, the band, but it's about a sci-fi story, right? And well, when I heard Queen was being released, I was like, oh, I wonder if they're going to do something like along the lines of maybe time travel and the future, and incorporate the songs. You know, Highlander was a big thing with Queen doing the theme song.
Sure. Yeah.
And I was like, you know, and then obviously the games come out and it's more about concerts and about, you know, the video clips. And so that's where I would have liked the game to have gone personally. And it could be, and speaking to a few people, maybe that's a little bit of the criticism of the game, and the only criticism of the game is probably it doesn't grab you enough. Because I think we're so used to maybe hearing the songs and seeing video clips. And that when you're playing pinball, I don't have a tendency to look up at the screen at all, because it's obviously distracting. But when you're with people, they look at the screen, obviously. But I think maybe some music machines, I personally find they don't, unless there's a theme to them. Like I think Led Zeppelin had an Egyptian theme, and someone else did one, and that had like a history. Like, so with themes, I think you can kind of get those people over the line. And that's probably my only thing with Queen. I was probably a little bit too invested in that.
While I do understand from the sheer public point of view, I have to say, working with these prolific licenses, it doesn't get any
Of
easier
course.
if you're trying to encompass more stuff in it. Like, for
Yeah.
example,
And
you
take it
mentioned,
different direction.
yeah, you mentioned
Oh,
Highlander, and
yeah.
then people said, well, what about Flash Gordon? And then
Mm,
people said, how about Under Pressure? And that's a totally different license altogether. And so you really you get lost in negotiations somewhere, and then after a while you only have a limited window of making things happen anyway.
yeah. Yeah,
But
and I think, and that's right. I mean, one of the things, obviously, it's very easy to want to do, and it's like with any license where you've got the person trying to make machine, the person that owns the rights, and maybe the person that originally owned the rights that still has a
mm,
5% say, and you're
mhm,
fighting between the three, and that person goes, I don't like that, and because he
yes,
doesn't like that, that topper doesn't come out for like 2 years.
yeah,
And
mm,
I know stories of that. I'm not going to mention who and names and stuff, but there are people that have waited 2 years for a topper on a machine
mhm,
because not because it's the company's fault, because they're governed by the people that own the rights are fighting
mm,
over what I like and what I don't like.
yes,
And I can imagine even with a lot of music, and I don't know if Queen, I'm assuming they all own their own catalog, but in some other, I know some bands where half the catalog's owned by someone else and the other half's owned by someone else,
yeah,
or there's a
yeah.
silent partner, and
This this is what I personally, if you ask me as a layman, I do not really understand how people do a pinball machine with a theme, like for example with a movie, and then they don't get all the actors, and you sort of have to wrap your mind around how all of this works, because we have it so frequently that I think I heard it in the making of the Godfather. I heard that Al Pacino wasn't to be on the machine until the last minute, and I
mm,
thought, wow, this is so stressful to always have to juggle with sort of variants of
yeah,
the artwork and all of this, to never know whether this is going to be the final stage or not, and that's exactly what we experienced. So
it's that's
maybe it
interesting.
would be nice to be able to do an unlicensed theme altogether, so that you could just be your own master for
Yeah,
a change.
yeah, and it's funny because speaking to a lot of pinball people, like they don't care. There's the people that really care that if it doesn't have that person's voice, I'm not interested. Like it
Yeah,
pisses me off, I'm not going to buy it. That I'd struggle a bit because there are some fantastic voice actors that do their whole career is voice acting.
yes.
I did a commercial for a building company I was working with at the time, and
Mhm,
the theme of the ad was Back to the Future, and obviously we didn't have the actors, but the two people that played the voices were
mhm,
spot on. And
mhm,
so many comments on the ads where we actually, I think we won an award for that, or the company that did it won an award for the ad. But
mhm.
was that they said, "How did you get the two guys to do the voice?"
Yeah,
And I was like, "We didn't. The
yeah,
voice actors were phenomenal." And I'd be okay with voice actors if you couldn't get Ripley to say bitch. I would have just said, as long as a voice actor says it and it's close enough, I
yeah,
don't care.
yeah.
But there are a
This
lot
is
of people that are so protective of theme.
sure.
It's crazy.
This is a little anecdote from our Ripley as well. Um, we After a while, you go through the list of everything that has to be cleared,
Yeah.
and then you sort of I don't know, like after years since the development, you don't really know if everything is cleared or not. And so they came up with the question, well, are the rights to the computer voice that commands the ship mother, are these rights cleared? And it turned out that it was David Thiel's wife who did the voiceover for that. And I didn't know that at the time. I
No.
I found that out.
Oh, right. Interesting. So yeah, look, and that's right. You might think you've got a theme sorted, and then 2 years later, someone goes, "Oh, hold on, who cleared that?" And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden the brakes get put on. But let's talk about, obviously we spoke about Alien being upgradable and having updates and the new code, and the game's very different. I
Mhm.
believe Queen's obviously had some changes apart from the now with Bohemian Rhapsody, and
Mhm.
where's that at now with the stage? Have we got a new version coming, or is this the new version?
Yeah, right now we're we spent so much time, of course, with the Ripley process, but at Expo as well, we presented an alternate translite, and we are in the middle of doing some more stuff. So we'll just have to wait for that. But
Mm.
um, we are working on alternate art because that's something that has been demanded by the community. So
Yep.
there you go.
So that machine is still in the evolving process. It's not
Oh
like
yeah,
you're
sure.
finished with it. Yeah, great.
Yes.
And so talking on that, the one thing I think we did, and we had some questions in the past, and friends of mine, and I've asked this question, going back to Alien, where people had said originally that the Alien had struggled to kind of pick up the ball and catch the ball
Hmm.
because the
Yeah.
game's quite fast.
Hmm.
And at the time, this was a few years ago, obviously.
Yes.
Obviously, that's been rectified now with software
Mhm.
updates.
Yeah.
And so we can make that official because I think a lot of people don't know this.
Yeah, sure.
Because I think
Uh,
people tend to
what,
live on the negative comment and not realize that it has been changed.
yeah.
So,
What you need to sort of understand is that whenever a machine is developed, like for example, we have implemented software for the topper that's going to be on the machine. It's not there yet; it's still being developed, but the code has already been implemented, and that of course causes further trouble with some other components. And so you can always have it when you update um, um, to a newer software, or a game code or firmware, that after a while you get the feedback, wow, okay, now these problems arise that weren't really there before, and then you sort of start again. But the tongue thing has definitely been rectified, and there were some speeds as well of the mechanism that caused the machine to go louder and then softer, and now we're sort of we've rectified it all.
and I think, again, this gets back to what I said before about the pinball community being a little bit demanding. I think people tend to forget that it is a man-made product. It is a
Yes,
product that can be tested hundreds of hours, but I know guys that
thousands.
put thousands of hours. I know guys that put 1,000 games on machines themselves,
Yeah.
and they play that game religiously. That's very different to playing a game and then coming back to it the next day and then doing some changes and doing, and I think there's always going to be, doesn't matter what machine is. And I've had machines, without naming which ones,
Hmm.
that out of the box brand new and there's screws loose,
Hmm.
or there's something that's not even in the machine,
Yeah.
but it's got a seal of approval, So we're all humans, we all make mistakes, and I
Yes.
think it's very naive for people to think that a machine should be finished and be complete the moment you get it,
Yeah.
because if you've been doing this long enough, you know that coding, and I mean, I'll say it, James Bond, when it first came out, great theme, code was a bit average, but now in the last year, the codes that have come out, that is a phenomenal game, right? So,
Okay.
you've got
Yeah.
to rely on the coding is going to evolve, and you're going to get, like you said, consumer feedback, and things
Yes.
that people go, we really want, that maybe we didn't think at the time was important,
Yeah.
so I think it's definitely uh, people need to step back put their foot on the brake a little bit. um
I think if you're into pinball, I mean, you really have to realize this is not a VCR. It's not a DVD player.
yeah,
It's a machine that has thousands of parts, and of course, to be able to put it out of the box, do an unboxing, and then play away, and everything's fine. Um, you don't really know where the machine has in what warehouse it was in, under which conditions, whether it was air freighted, whether it was in a container for some months, maybe even, and so I would think it is a bit idealist to say, well, this has to work out of box perfectly.
mm,
Even at Expo, for example, we unbox the machines, we play them, and then a flipper stands up or something like that because the spring loosens or just
yeah,
flips off. So all of this I wouldn't say it's you have to be heavy into construction yourself if you want to own a pinball machine, but I think it's sort of illusionist to say no, this has to work under any circumstances.
Yeah, and look, I've got a friend of mine that's bought a brand new Rolls Royce that had a faulty gearbox, brand new Rolls Royce. So, wow. Now it's all about how you handle this, right? So you fly a brand new one over, you air freight it over. They're very easy to communicate with. And I think with you guys are very easy to communicate with. You're very responsive. Obviously, you've got someone in America. You guys are in, so I mean, obviously, if someone has a problem and they want to talk to you guys, what's the best way of going about that?
Yeah, well, this is the great thing that we have a central ticket system. So if you get through the website and open a ticket, you'll be directed to the person who is most appropriate for you for your time zone, and you can be sure that it's handled centrally and with accountability. Of course, me doing the social media, people usually just write me a Facebook message or something, and I can't really, it would be a nightmare, a logistical nightmare, if I was to forward this manually to someone who would probably care. And with a ticket system, it's all taken care of, because we can then, if someone doesn't hear back from us, we can then go in there and see what's the holdup, is there a part missing, or what's the thing. And I think we've been praised a lot for really being that responsive, because we just need to be. I would expect that for a product that is like 8 or 10K. I would expect someone to react to my problems if I do have them. And so,
well, especially when some people are isolated. I mean, I live in the most isolated city in the world.
Yeah.
Right. And if I have a problem, if I can't get on Instagram or send an email and have a response, the way I am, I'd like a response within a day. Right. Now, companies are busy. I get it. 2 days max. But, there is that expectation that when you are selling a product that is very hard to have a dealer in every city in the world, that, sometimes does have to go back on the companies. And, like you said, if you're spending that type of money, you got to step up. Right. So, and I think that's a fair comment. We'll probably flip it a little bit. Did you have any questions for me at all?
No, not really. I was wondering whether we should maybe focus on the Queen game in one of the next interactions that we have, because I would really love to see some more of that. But of course, now this has been about Ripley.
Yep. And look, and I think that's a fair comment. I think there hasn't been, whatever Queen content I have seen has been probably done in like festivals or at CES or whatever it's called. I always forget what it's called over in the US or whatever. So I think it'd be fair to try and track one down or get one. With the distributors in the UK, because obviously Gonzo's channel, you guys still working with Pinside?
No, Phil, Pinball Heaven,
Pinball Heaven, sorry. Pinball Heaven, not Pinside. I was just talking to someone on Pinside. Pinball Heaven. So Pinball Heaven, sorry, Phil, don't kill me. So that's great. And for people in Australia, we have Wayne over in Melbourne and in America, obviously. Who's in America doing it?
Well, we have expanded that network, because we sort of we thought it would be okay to have one distributor, but it turns out that, I mean, the sheer size, that's sort of like what you touched on. Of course, people in San Francisco want a local dealer, and someone in Texas wants a local dealer, and someone in Pennsylvania wants a local dealer. We have expanded this, like I said, with this support system, that we have a parts hub in the US, so that people who are serviced with parts that they needed, that's much quicker now. And also we have a system of distributors who are shifting the machines. So all of this is shaping up very good.
Cool. All right, look, I mean, we've gone on for about 50 minutes. But look, I think that, we'll look at in the near future, we'll do something on Queen. We'll see if we can get our hands on a machine. and maybe get Chris Gonzo, however, maybe get him on the machine a bit more, and
sure.
Spence as well. Myself, I'll track one down here. I think there's one nearby actually.
Cool.
Because now, and it's fair, machines change, they evolve, as we said, so it's probably good to do a refresh on that. So I appreciate that. I really appreciate your time. I know you're busy. So for some quick clarity, so you guys are affiliated with Pedretti. We know that. We've already explained that. If you maybe joined late, have a close relationship with the group that you guys created. Are you guys then involved with Pedretti in what they're doing with these remakes, or is that just separate completely?
No, that's separate.
Separate completely. So it's really interesting to see where that goes. And look, I think Pedretti have a really good reputation. Again, they're Italian; they can't do anything wrong, really. But well, that's not true. We had a conversation the other day about how terrible alphas are. So Italians are not renowned for building Alfa Romeos.
Things can always go wrong. The interesting thing is if you're on top of it.
Yeah, correct. So look, Rudy, I really appreciate it. I know this was just a bit of a chat, just to get you on and just talk about a little drink and just a bit of a chin wag. But I really appreciate the time. And yeah, look, we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for having me.
No problems. Thank you very much. Thank you.